Oscar-winning Palestinian director was assaulted by Israeli settlers. This is a horrific story. Put up the picture full mass. This was actually a beautiful, unified moment internationally. I'm going to explain. So according to eyewitnesses, before it turned into this thing, the Palestinian co-director of the Oscar-winning film No Other Land, Hamdan Ballal, who worked with Palestinian and Jewish coalitions. For this, he was beaten up by Israeli settlers in occupied West Bank and then taken away by Israeli soldiers yesterday. In a breaking update, he has now been released by the Israeli soldiers. Ballal's co-director, Basil Adra, told CNN that he had gone to Ballal's home in the West Bank village of Susaya on Monday after Ballal called him in distress. He arrived to see Ballal and at least one other person being taken away. Outside Ballal's home was a group of Israeli settlers, some of whom were throwing actual stones, Adra said. Israeli police and military were also outside the home, and Israeli soldiers were firing at anyone who tried to get close, he added. The Israeli military said it had arrived at the scene of a, quote, violent confrontation between Palestinians and Israelis who were throwing rocks at each other. It said the fight had broken out after several terrorists hurled rocks at Israeli citizens, damaging their vehicles, end quote. 3 Palestinians and an Israeli were taken in for questioning after several terrorists, quote, threw rocks at the security forces, it said. So Yuval Abraham, another co-director of the film, who is Israeli, okay, said Ballal had sustained injuries to his head and abdomen and had not been heard from since. Abraham did not witness the incident, he was informed. So here's the most recent update, okay? So Ballal was in the process of being released on Tuesday afternoon after being held overnight in police detention. This was in an Israeli settlement in the West Bank, his lawyer told CNN. 5 American activists from the Center for Jewish Nonviolence, who are also at the scene on Monday, said they too had been assaulted by Israeli settlers. They said more than a dozen settlers had attacked the village, wielding batons, knives, and at least one assault rifle, following a dispute involving an Israeli settler who was shepherding near a Palestinian home. Okay, so earlier this month, Ballal, Adra, and Abraham all stood on stage. This is a beautiful international moment here, that picture, okay? They stood beside each other to accept the Oscar for Best Documentary. The joint Israeli-Palestinian team's film recounts the eviction of Palestinians from their homes in the occupied West Bank. Keep those individuals up. That's leadership. That kind of leadership comes from a deep, deep conviction about humanity, caring. They told the truth. They understood potential consequences. And they're unified regardless of what culture or faith belief system they may or may not subscribe to. That is the elevation of consciousness. That is the elevation of self, which allows for the elevation of all. Thank you, gentlemen. So Jezebel reported that in Gaza, there's significant gender-based violence as well against Palestinians. It's described as systematic. I said this a while ago in Indisputable. What they're attempting to do is eliminate a gender pool because they're attempting to eliminate their ability or lessen it significantly to reproduce, to have children, to have families, to continue to thrive as a population, as people. Let's be very clear. When Schumer says his most important job is to keep things pro-Israel in the Democratic Party, and then he brags about how much aid he has approved for Israel from America. Understand what he's saying. You see, I am pro-Israeli. The people of Israel, the human beings. He is pro-Israeli military. He is pro-Netanyahu and other permeations of the military-industrial complex international. Don't allow them to put you in a box and make you believe that because you are antithetical to war crimes, that you are somehow also adverse to Israeli people. Because I remember 2 years ago when Kanye West and those on the right were saying racist things about Jews and the Jewish community, when they were hanging flags over bypasses around the United States, when there was this sentiment among the right. I remember us on the left defending our Jewish brothers and sisters. Brought individuals on the program, my Jewish colleagues on the show to talk about it openly. So, this report is going to disturb you. Earlier this month, a 50-page report on genocidal acts committed by Israeli forces and settlers against Palestinians was published by the United Nations Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory. It's the 5th report by the commission since October 2023. And this one specifically focused on gender-based violence against Palestinians, including sexual assault, sexual torture, targeted attacks on their ability to safely give birth. The commission ultimately concluded Israel, the government, the complex of military powers, is guilty of the crime against humanity for extermination. Interesting note. Crimes against humanity has become a talking point to pundits and those that have political agendas. The reality is, the only agency who has the actual authority to declare a crime against humanity is the United Nations. That has been declared. There's no ambiguity about it. There's a warrant out for Netanyahu's arrest currently. When you look at Israeli soldiers, you wonder how they could be ordinary human beings after this. To come out of a genocidal campaign of this brutality to their families, kids, communities. Chris Sidoti, an international human rights lawyer who serves on the commission and co-wrote the report, told Jezebel The commission determined that Gaza's 540,000 women and girls of reproductive age have been left without access to sexual and reproductive health care. Consequently, rates of deadly infections, miscarriage, and maternal and infant mortality have surged. C-sections in Gaza hospitals are sometimes performed without anesthesia and adequate medical supplies. I couldn't imagine. How do the soldiers do it? He's asking. How do they live with themselves? How do they look in the mirror? How do they go to sleep at night? It's called indoctrination. It's called indoctrination. And they have gone through an indoctrination process that has been well tuned over the years. So by the time they get into this space, they are indoctrinated against a group of people. And they now view those brothers and sisters of theirs as subhuman. That's how. Similar to what is being attempted here. All right, Sharon, thoughts?
Yeah, and that's why it's so important for certain people to keep this discussion at a minimum. They don't want the free flow of information. They don't want alternative ideas. They don't want to humanize other people that you get through that kind of dialogue. I'm just so grateful that you made the distinction between the Israeli people, who actually deserve so much better than what they're getting in Netanyahu and at his direction, the IDF. It's sad, but the way you broke it down, who could argue with it? I know somebody who would, but who could really argue with it?
We are looking forward to better opportunities for everybody to commune. Well, what they're doing to college students in America is quite insane, and is quietly becoming the battleground for free speech and free speech policy in America.